Beloved soul, I want to begin by saying this to you very clearly and very gently. God has not forgotten what He wrote for you in the beginning. And though people may wander, though hearts may try to move on, and though the world may try to rewrite the ending, heaven's plan does not crumble under the weight of human will. There is a love, not born from fleeting emotions, but from the eternal mind of God. And someone in your life, or someone soon to appear, has been woven into that plan in ways even they do not yet understand. They tried to move forward. They tried to convince themselves that what you had, or what you will have, was only for a season. But the Lord says this love was the final chapter one intended for them. They may have wandered into other arms. They may have sought comfort in other places. They may have whispered to themselves in the quiet, "It's over, it's time to forget." But their spirit, the deepest part of them, never received that message, because you cannot silence what heaven has ordained. When God writes a bond, it's not held together by memory or by convenience. It's held together by covenant. And this is covenant. Child of God, you need to know this. The seasons of distance, the moments of silence, the chapters where you thought the page had turned forever, were never meant to erase you from their story. They were meant to awaken them to the truth that no matter how far they go, no matter what detours they take, the one they are searching for is the one God already placed in their path. There's a beauty in this kind of divine design, because it humbles the heart. It teaches the soul that love is not about possession, but about alignment with God's will. And when a person discovers that, they can no longer live in denial. I see in the Spirit. They have tried to cover their heart with distractions. They filled their days with noise. They've smiled for others, while privately asking themselves why the ache won't go away. And the Lord says, the ache remains because it is a signpost pointing them home. Are not the reason for their restlessness. The absence of God's final plan in their daily life is the reason. And His plan includes you. Listen to me, dear soul. This is not about desperation. It is not about clinging to a human being out of fear of being alone. It is about standing in quiet confidence that when the Creator of the universe writes something into being, no force of man or enemy can erase it. They may have tried to move on. They may have told themselves the door was closed, but heaven never closed it. Heaven only paused it so that when the moment of return comes, it will be wrapped in maturity, humility, and a deeper faith than before. And I know you've wondered if you should just let go entirely. You've asked God if you're holding on to something that no longer exists. You've whispered in prayer, "Lord, if this is not your will, release me from it." But instead of a release, there has been a quiet persistence in your spirit, a knowing that you can't explain, a peace that sits just beneath the questions. That is the mark of God's hand. Because when something is not for you, He removes it with clarity. But when something is yours by covenant, He sustains you in the waiting. My dear friend, this waiting is not empty, it is sacred. It is doing something in you. And in them, God is reshaping both of your hearts so that when they return, you will not meet as the same people who parted, but as two souls ready to walk in the fullness of His purpose. Even now, He's arranging conversations you cannot see. He is stirring memories in their heart that they cannot shake. He is speaking to them in the stillness, showing them glimpses of the peace they once felt with you. They may be fighting it, but the more they resist, the more they realize what they are resisting is not you. It is God's voice, calling them back to what He already chose. So I want you to do something today. Rest. Release the anxiety of trying to figure out the how and the when. God is in both. He knows the exact day, the exact hour, the exact way their heart will finally surrender and say, I can't run from this anymore. I can't deny that they are where my heart belongs. And when that moment comes, it won't be rushed. It won't be forced. It will feel like slipping back into a promise you never truly left. Beloved, your role is not to chase them. It is to prepare the space for them to return to. Not only the physical space, but the space within your spirit that is healed, whole, and ready to love without fear. This is the love God intended for them before they even knew your name. And this is the love He is guarding in you, even now. If this message has touched something deep within you, I invite you to stay close to this space. Subscribe to this channel so that we can keep walking together in these truths. Share your heart in the comments, whether it's a prayer request or simply your reflection, because we grow stronger when we walk in faith together. And if this word has blessed your spirit, consider leaving us super thanks as a way of helping this ministry reach more souls who need a gentle, God-filled reminder like this. Your support helps keep these messages flowing, not for applause, but for kingdom work. You are not forgotten. This love is not lost, and heaven's final plan still has your name written in it. There is something about the way God works in the hidden places. He moves in whispers, in moments unnoticed by the world, yet powerful enough to shift the course of a soul. While you have been waiting, beloved, while you have been praying, wondering, and at times quietly weeping in the night, heaven has been at work in ways you could not even imagine. You see, when they walked away or when time and circumstance pulled them from you, it looked final to human eyes. It felt like the story was closing, like the thread was cut. But the Spirit of the Lord says, I do not cut what I have tied with covenant. There is a thread delicate, invisible to the natural eye, but strong enough to weather every storm. It is the thread of divine appointment. And it has been wrapped around both of your hearts from the moment God said, let this be. They may have tried to fill the space you once held. They may have surrounded themselves with other voices, other arms, other dreams. But there's a reason nothing has felt quite right since you is because peace is not found in almost right. It is not found in close enough. Peace is found in God's perfect choice. And you, dear soul, are part of that choice. I know the waiting has not been easy. Sometimes it feels like a wound that won't close, a question that won't answer itself. Sometimes it's tempting to believe that maybe you imagined the connection. Maybe it wasn't as deep as you thought. But listen closely. That depth you felt was real. Because the Spirit inside you recognized the Spirit in them. And recognition cannot be undone. It can only be denied for a time. When they tried to move on, they were not running from you as much as they were running from the call that comes with a love like this. Because this is not just about companionship. It's about purpose. It's about God using the two of you as a living testimony of His faithfulness. And purpose is heavy when you're not ready. So sometimes God allows the wandering, not to punish, not to torment, but to refine. He lets them taste the emptiness of life without His will at the center, so that when they return, they will not question the value of what they almost lost. I see them in the Spirit now, trying to distract themselves with busyness, telling themselves they've moved on, but feeling that strange pull when something reminds them of you. A song, a scent, the echo of your laughter in their memory. And each time, the tug gets stronger. Not because you're chasing them, but because God's plan is chasing them. One day soon, beloved, they will stop resisting. And when they do, it will not be a hesitant return. It will be a surrender. The kind of surrender that says, I tried everything else, but nothing fits the way God's plan fits. And I want to speak to your heart here. You do not need to worry that you will miss the moment. You do not need to fear that they will pass you by. What God intends for you will not require you to grasp, chase, or beg. It will arrive in His timing, as naturally as morning follows night. It will feel like an answer you've been holding your breath for. It will feel like God's yes wrapping around your soul. So what should you do while you wait? Tend to your heart. Keep your oil full, as the wise virgins did in the parable. Pray for them, not in longing, but in blessing. Pray for their strength, their healing, their awakening to God's voice, and pray for yourself that you will be ready to love without fear, to forgive without keeping score, and to walk forward without dragging the past behind you, because when this love returns, it will not be a repeat of what you had before. It will be something new, something deeper, something forged in the refining fire of God's preparation. The waiting is not wasted. Every moment of patience, every tear of prayer, every quiet night of surrender, it's all being stored as seed. And God will bring the harvest in due time. If your spirit feels the truth in this, I invite you stay connected here. Subscribe so you won't miss the moments of guidance God places on my heart for you. Share your reflections or prayer requests in the comments. I read them and I pray over them. And if this message has touched you deeply, consider leaving a super thanks. It's not about the gift itself, but about helping this channel. Continue sending out messages like this, soft but strong words that remind people they are not forgotten by God. Beloved, they may have tried to move on, but your love, covered in prayer, rooted in covenant, was God's final plan all along. And nothing, not time, not distance, not misunderstanding, can uproot what God Himself has planted. Beloved soul, we have walked together through the truth that some loves are not simply chosen by hearts. They are chosen by heaven. And this is one of them. They may have wandered. They may have placed other names where yours once rested. They may have convinced themselves that the chapter had closed. But God does not abandon His own handwriting. You must understand. The author of your life does not use ink that fades. When He writes a name into your journey, it is not erased by silence or rewritten by human will. And I know. The waiting has stretched you. It has tested your trust. It has tempted you to ask, Lord, if this is your will, why the delay? The answer is both simple and deep, because God is not only preparing them for you, He is preparing you for the weight of the blessing He intends to place in your hands. This love is not a casual gift. It is a mantle. It carries a purpose far beyond romance. And for it to stand the storms ahead, both of you must be rooted in Him, not in the fleeting comfort of each other alone. There was a time when you might have depended on them too much, when they might have depended on you to fill the gaps only God can fill. So the separation became a classroom. The silence became a lesson. The distance became a doorway for Him to work in the unseen places of both your hearts. And now, the turning is coming. Even if they have not said it out loud, they have begun to feel the still small voice of God whispering your name again. In quiet moments, He is bringing you to their mind, not as nostalgia, but as a truth they can no longer deny. The pull is growing stronger. The other paths feel hollow. The smiles they've shown to the world cannot hide the deep recognition in their soul that what they had with you is not replaceable, not because you are perfect, but because God's will is perfect. When the time comes, you will see it in their eyes. They will not come back with arrogance or casual ease. They will come with reverence, with gratitude, with an understanding that love like this is rare, and that it must be guarded, not taken for granted. And you will have the choice to receive them not with resentment, but with the grace that only comes from walking closely with God. Because grace is not weakness. It is strength clothed in kindness. It says, I remember the pain, but I will not live in it. One, choose the new thing God is doing. Beloved, if you can hold on to this truth, you will be ready for what is about to unfold. Not just the return of a person, but the unveiling of God's final plan for the two of you. I want to remind you, this is not a fairy tale. It will require forgiveness. It will require humility. It will require both of you to anchor yourselves in God daily. But because it is God's will, the grace to walk it out will be given to you. And the love you share will shine as a testimony to others who thought their story was over. Even now, heaven is aligning the steps. Even now, the Spirit is stirring them. Even now God is saying over you both, what I have joined together in my purpose, let no man separate. So rest, beloved. The author is still writing, and the ending he has in mind is more beautiful than the one you lost. If this message has settled peace in your heart, stay close to this space, subscribe, so that we can keep walking together in truth and encouragement. Share your reflections or prayer requests in the comments, so this community can lift you in prayer. And if these words have blessed you, consider leaving a super thanks, not for my sake, but so that more souls can receive these gentle reminders of God's faithfulness. Every gift helps keep these words flowing to hearts in need. Beloved, they may have tried to move on, but they will find, as you have already learned, that you cannot outrun the love God has written into your destiny, and when they stand before you again, it will not be by accident. It will be by divine design, because your love was always God's final plan, beloved soul. Sometimes God's greatest works are not in the moments of arrival, but in the seasons of absence, the quiet, the stillness, the space where your prayers echo back to you, and you wonder if they're even being heard. But make no mistake, every word you have whispered to heaven has been received. Every tear has been noticed. Every silent surrender has been gathered up like seed in the palm of God's hand. And while you've been waiting, God has been weaving. He has been moving threads you cannot see, positioning hearts, closing doors that would have led to harm, and opening pathways that lead only to His promise. The one you love has been walking roads they thought were theirs to choose. They believed they were building a new chapter without you. But in truth, every step away was a step into the realization that nothing they build apart from God's will can stand. This is the mercy of God, that He allows us to reach the end of ourselves so that we might truly choose Him. They tried to convince themselves they were free. They told themselves they were over it. They wore the face of someone who has moved on. But in the still hours of the night, when the noise quiets and their heart is laid bare before the Lord, they know deep down that there is something unfinished between you. That knowledge is not born from regret. It is born from revelation, from the whisper of God's Spirit saying, "This is not where the story ends." Beloved, there's a time to speak and a time to be silent, a time to move and a time to be still. And right now, God is asking you to rest in the stillness of His promise. Your job is not to try to convince them. It is not to chase or plead or explain. It is simply to stay aligned with God, to keep your heart soft, and to keep your oil full for the moment when the door opens again. When they return, and they will, it will not be by accident. It will not be because they ran out of options. It will be because they have seen with their own eyes that God's way is better than their own. And when a heart learns that truth by experience, it no longer wanders. They will come not as someone uncertain, but as someone who has counted the cost and chosen you freely. Because choosing you is choosing the will of God for their life. I want you to hold this in your spirit. God's timing is not slow, it is perfect. And the longer the preparation, the greater the glory when the promise unfolds. So keep tending to your faith. Keep praying blessings over them. Keep letting God heal any place in you that still aches from the separation. Because when this love returns, it will not be to the same version of you they left. It will be to someone who has grown, who has deepened, who has learned how to love from a place of abundance rather than fear. This is how covenant love survives. This is how it flourishes. And this is why no attempt to move on can succeed when God's hand is in it. If your heart has found comfort in these words, stay connected here, subscribe, so these gentle reminders can keep meeting you in your journey. Write your prayer requests or reflections in the comments so this community can lift you up. And if you feel led, you can support this space with a super thanks, not as a transaction, but as a seed sown into the work of spreading God's peace and truth to more souls. Beloved, they may have tried to move on, but God has not moved from His plan. And his plan still has your name, their name, and the word together written over it. Beloved soul, there is something you need to remember today. The promises of God are not fragile. They do not break under the weight of time. They do not fade under the shadow of distance. They do not dissolve when human hearts waver. What God has spoken over you will stand until it comes to pass. And in this story, your story, God has spoken of a love that He Himself has authored. A love that has weathered separation, that has survived misunderstanding, that has endured the testing of time. They may have tried to step into a different future. They may have dressed their days in new routines, new faces, new conversations, but none of it has settled the quiet unrest in their soul, because you cannot replace covenant with comfort. You cannot substitute God's final choice with something good enough. And so, slowly, gently, God has been untying the knots they've made for themselves. He has been loosening the attachments that are not of Him. He has been dismantling the illusions that what they had with you could be found anywhere else. This is not punishment, it is mercy. For mercy is not only the forgiveness of wrong, it is the redirection toward what is right. You, beloved, are not waiting for someone to wake up in the shallow sense. You are waiting for someone to have their vision restored by God Himself. And when vision is restored, the path becomes clear. The distractions lose their grip. The heart begins to lean in the right direction without fear. There will come a moment so ordinary in appearance, yet so extraordinary in the spirit, when they will look at their life and realize everything feels incomplete without you in it. That it will not be the rush of old feelings alone. It will be the deep knowing that you are their appointed companion for the journey ahead, and that knowing will drive them to return, not just to you, but to the God who wrote your love story. In that day, you will see the faithfulness of God in a way you never imagined. You will realize that every tear, every prayer, every moment you stayed faithful in the waiting was not wasted. It was preparing the ground for the promise to take root again. So as you wait, I say this to you: do not grow weary in well-doing. Do not let your heart become bitter in the delay. Do not close the door out of fear that it will hurt again. Instead, keep your heart open to God first, and He will keep it ready for them when the time comes, because this is not just a reunion of two people. It is a reunion of two purposes, two callings, two journeys that were always meant to walk side by side. Beloved, if these words have been life to your soul, I invite you to remain close to this place. Subscribe so that these truths can keep meeting you where you are. Share your reflections or your prayer needs in the comments. This is a space where we lift each other up. And if this message has blessed you, consider sowing into it with a super thanks, not for recognition, but as a way of carrying this gentle word to others who need it as much as you did. You are not forgotten. Your love is not lost. And God's final plan is not delayed. It is simply unfolding. One day soon, you will see them again. And in their eyes will be the quiet confession: I tried to move on, but I could not leave what God made for me. Beloved soul, we have journeyed together through the waiting, the wondering, and the whispers of heaven. And now I want to leave you with something you can carry in your spirit long after this moment ends. A reminder that the author of your story is still holding the pen. They may have drifted. They may have stood far from the place where your lives once intertwined. They may have spoken words that felt final, made choices that seemed permanent. But the one who sees the end from the beginning has never shifted his gaze from the plan. He spoke over you both. You have not been in limbo, you have been in preparation. They have not been lost. They have been on a journey that will bring them home. When God restores something, He does not simply put the pieces back together. He makes it new. He redeems the lost time. He writes beauty over the broken lines. And this is the promise He is speaking over you, that when the moment comes, the love you receive will not be the same as the love that left. It will be fuller, deeper, and covered in the humility that only comes from knowing it is a gift from God. Until then, your call is simple. Remain faithful. Remain prayerful. Remain in the posture of trust, because when your heart stays aligned with heaven, you are ready to receive whatever and whenever He chooses to give. I want to speak this over you now. You are not waiting in vain. You are not forgotten by God. You are not left out of His story. Even now, His Spirit is moving in the unseen, shaping hearts, redirecting steps, and setting the stage for a reunion that will glorify Him. It may not be tomorrow. It may not look like what you once imagined. But when it happens, you will recognize His hand in every detail. You will see the mercy in the delay. You will see the wisdom in the detours. And you will know in the deepest part of your soul, they may have tried to move on, but love written by God cannot be erased. Beloved, let your hope rise again. Let your prayers be full of faith again. And let your heart be steady, for the one who promised is faithful to fulfill. If these words have been a blessing to you, stay close to this space, subscribe, so these gentle truths can continue to meet you where you are. Share your heart in the comments. Your reflections and prayer requests are seen, and this community stands ready to lift you in prayer. And if you feel led, you can support the work here with a super thanks. It helps us continue carrying these peaceful messages to souls who need them most. May you walk today with the quiet confidence that God's final plan for your life and for this love is still unfolding. And it will not be late, because what He has joined in His purpose, no distance, no time, and no human decision can tear apart. Rest in His promise, live in His peace, and wait with the kind of hope that knows your love story is still in His hands. Beloved child of God, there's a sacred stillness that surrounds you now, a quiet moment between what was and what is yet to come. It is in this stillness that the heart learns to listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the soft whisper of heaven. You have watched the seasons change, felt the weight of absence, walked through days shadowed by uncertainty, and wondered if love would ever bloom again. But I am here to remind you, this waiting is not empty. It is the sacred soil in which God's promise grows. They tried to move on. They told themselves stories of what could be without you. They reached for other hopes, only to find those hands empty. And this is why. Because God's plan is not one of hurried decisions or shallow comfort, but a deep, abiding truth that anchors the soul. Your love, dear one, was never just a passing chapter. It was the final plan that God Himself ordained. He wrote it with intention, with purpose, and with a love that outlasts all trials. Sometimes when someone steps away, it is because God is preparing their heart in a way only distance can teach. Sometimes the longest journeys are the ones that lead right back home to the very place their soul has been longing for. This is not about second chances born out of desperation. It is about sacred restoration born from divine timing. They will come back to you, not because they had no other choice, but because they have finally chosen the path God designed from the beginning. I know your heart may feel fragile, and the ache of waiting can sometimes feel unbearable. But I urge you, hold fast to hope. Let your faith be the quiet anchor in the stormy seas of uncertainty. Remember, God's timing is never late. It is perfect in every detail. The days when you feel forgotten, when the silence feels too loud, and the future seems unclear, these are the moments when God is working most deeply behind the scenes. He is weaving together the threads of your story in a tapestry more beautiful than you could ever imagine. And when the moment comes, when their eyes meet yours again, there will be no doubt, no hesitation, only a profound recognition of what was always meant to be. You will see in their gaze the reflection of God's faithfulness, the evidence of His mercy, and the glory of a love restored. Until that day, beloved, I ask you to keep your heart soft, your spirit gentle, and your soul rooted in prayer. Pray not just for their return, but for their healing, their clarity, and their awakening to God's perfect will. Pray for your own growth and readiness, that you might receive this love not out of need, but out of fullness and peace. And when the time is right, you will both step into a love that is holy, a love that is unshakable, a love that is truly God's final plan. If this message has touched your heart, I invite you to stay close to this space. Subscribe to receive more gentle, God-centered guidance. Share your reflections or prayer requests in the comments, and know that you are not walking alone. If you feel moved to support this ministry, a humble super thanks helps us continue spreading these peaceful words to souls searching for hope and healing. Remember this, dear one. They tried to move on, but your love, wrapped in God's promise, was always the final plan, and nothing can separate what God has united in purpose and love. Beloved one, as you continue on this journey, I want you to feel the tenderness of God's heart toward you. He is not distant. He is not indifferent. He is near, closer than your very breath, even in moments when it feels like the world has shifted beneath your feet, even when the silence around your love feels deafening. Know this: God's plan has never wavered. It has never faltered. It has only been growing stronger beneath the surface, like roots reaching deeper in the soil, preparing to support the tree that will bloom in its perfect season. They tried to move on, beloved, but their soul remembers. The soul does not lie. It cannot be fooled by distractions or new beginnings that lack true foundation. There's a sacred imprint on both your hearts, a design so intricate that no human choice can rewrite it. God's final plan for your love is not based on convenience or timing. It is based on covenant, on a promise sealed in heaven and carried in your spirit. You may have felt moments of doubt, times when your heart whispered, "Is it really possible?" But I am here to tell you, with the authority of heavens, peace, yes, it is possible. Yes, God's promises are alive and active. They are not trapped by time or circumstance. They move through seasons of waiting like a river, carving its path through the earth, silent but unstoppable. So what does it mean for you now? It means to stay faithful in the waiting, to hold on to the truth that what God has joined, no one can put asunder, to keep your spirit open and your heart tender, ready to receive the love God is preparing for you, a love refined by grace, strengthened by forgiveness, and deepened by the very trials that tried to separate you. And if your heart feels weary, if the journey feels long and the waiting heavy, lean into the one who carries your burdens. Speak your fears to him. Lay down your questions. Rest in his presence where peace flows like a river, and hope is renewed like the morning sun. This is the sacred dance of faith, to believe without seeing, to trust without knowing the exact path, to hold steady when the world shifts around. You and remember, beloved, you are not alone in this. There are others walking similar roads, souls just like you, waiting and trusting, holding on to the promise that God's final plan will not fail. If you feel the gentle stirring of hope in your heart now, I encourage you to join this community. Subscribe for more peaceful spiritual guidance that meets you right where you are. Share your reflections and prayer requests in the comments. Your voice matters here. And if this message has been a balm to your soul, consider supporting this channel with a humble, super thanks. Every gift helps these sacred words reach more hearts waiting for a whisper of God's truth. Beloved, they may have tried to move on, but your love, the love God designed and decreed, will rise again, stronger, purer, and more beautiful than ever before. Rest in that truth today.